I'm going to show you the inside of volume 1 of the 5 in a row curriculum. Now this one, volume 1, it's an age range, ages 5 to 9. I'm also going to be using the before 5 in a row, which is for younger ages, ages 2 to 4. Both exact same concept. You have a book list, you read a story every day together, and then you pull an activity specific to that story. I'm going to show you volume 1 today. I'm going to be using this with my 5-year-old and my 8-year-old. The front is the book list. So it's totally up to you if you want to just grab all of these books at once. I will warn you though, a lot of these are older classic stories that are no longer being published, and so they're kind of expensive, and you can't really find them at the library because a lot of people are using this curriculum. I went to Thrift Books and got a lot there online. You can go to, I found one at a flea market, but this is the list for volume 1. So starting with the story about Ping, and then you go all the way through. The last one is Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening. The author of the 5 in a row curriculum, she did a great job at choosing classic stories that all have some kind of lesson involved. They all have maybe like a historical or scientific take on certain things. This is a Christian-based curriculum though, so keep that in mind too. You do not have to read these stories in this order. As a matter of fact, they actually go with the seasons. So I created this little list here where there's the list, story about Ping, ending with Stopping by the Woods on a Snowy Evening, and then I put the months that I want to do it. So for example, Cranberry Thanksgiving, I want to make sure that we're doing that in the month of November. That's the season of fall, whereas Stopping by Woods on a Snowy Evening, that's a winter story, so we're going to do that one in January. This list is not in order of the seasons. Now let me show you what an actual lesson would look like with this. So it's called 5 in a row because you are supposed to read the story with them 5 days in a row. So we are going to start off our day by reading the story. And yes, by Friday, we have read the story 5 times. There is a method to that madness that she explains in here and why it's so important to read it 5 days in a row. After you read the story together, you can see outlined on these pages all different subject activities that you can choose from. Social studies, having a discussion about relationships and discernment, and it all ties back into this story. There's a geography lesson on China because the story about Ping, it takes place in China. So you're learning all about China. You pull out a map. There's all different activities you can do with that. She's even included the map of China. So part of our geography lesson for that day might be coloring the map of China or finding China on the map. Maybe I choose to do a literature lesson that day where we talk about classic stories. There's a language arts activity where we're learning what fiction means, and then they even can go in and write their own fictional story. Some activities are not going to have worksheets at all. As a matter of fact, some of them are just discussions, which I love. So if we're short for time one day, I'm going to choose an activity that's quick that we can just have a discussion about, like this, the culture of China. We're just talking about different Chinese culture facts. Lots and lots of art activities. The author of this, I don't know if she's an artist, her mom was an artist, something like that, but she's big on art, and you're actually learning real terms, right? This is not just some fun, cutesy little curriculum. You're understanding unity, composition. The story that you just read, the story of Ping, which you can see has a lot of water involved. There's math activities included. Depending on the age of your child, you can modify this to make it, more challenging or easier, however you need to do it. There's a buoyancy activity where you do a little sink or float. That is a standard. That is a standard that every state has for the first grade. They need to understand sink and float. You are not expected to get every single activity done within that first week. Some families choose to spread one story out over 2 weeks so they can hit every single thing. In our case, I just went through and I planned the activities that we want to do, and we're just going to get it all done in 1 week. So you can see here on my little planning sheet, I made all of these from scratch. This is not something that's included with the curriculum. So you can see here, day 1, when we read the story about Ping, I chose the first geography lesson. So I'm going to go in here, first geography lesson that I put that dot on. I also chose to do a second geography lesson for that day. So in my book, here's that second geography lesson, which was just a discussion about the Chinese culture. I am going to have them color that flag of China that is included in this, and that is all just on day 1. Some people might only choose to do 1 activity. Some people might try to squeeze in 3 like I did. On day 2, I've chosen to do that relationship discernment discussion. This is just where we're talking about relationships and understanding discernment. And then I have 2 language arts activities chosen. We're going to talk about those classic stories that I showed you in here. And then we are going to do that fiction writing. So they're getting a writing activity done that day. Wednesday, I've chosen the 2 science activities. Day 4, more science. I really wanted to hit science and social studies with this since we are still using Christian-led education for our phonics. And then Friday is supposed to be like Fun Friday, right? So you do an art project or a recipe. There is a recipe book that I also got with this that I'll show you. This is the recipe cookbook, and it's for every story that you read. This is for volume 1. So you can see the recipe for this is egg rolls and fried rice. We're learning all about China. The story takes place in China, so there's a recipe to go along with it. That's what they say you should do on Friday. Save that for like Fun Friday. Another thing that I really want to show you, I'm so excited about this. These things are called story discs. You can print them out from the website. They actually have them in the back of the teacher's guide. And I colored these myself, but you can order them already colored. Each of these little discs goes with one of the stories. So the example that I'm showing you right now is the story about Ping. Here's the little story disc that goes with the story of Ping. Every single day after we read the story together, they're gonna take this story disc and they are going to place it on the map. So you can see I have that map over there, and every day they're gonna place this little Ping on the map where China is. So they're getting geography, daily geography, with these little story discs. Placing the story disc on the map, remembering where China is or wherever the country is that goes with the book that day. Now, just to give you an idea of the difference between the Before 5 in a Row and the 5 in a Row curriculum is that the Before 5 in a Row, of course, is for younger kids. So there's no worksheets or writing activities with this. This is a lot of discussion. This is a lot of going outside and playing games together. First book that we're going to be reading with my 3-year-old is the Jessie Bear What Will You Wear? And you can see I highlighted the things that I'm interested in doing with her. There's a Bible verse we're going to talk about. There's loving relationships. So in the story, he has relationships with his father and his mother. And so it's just discussions, talking about mommies and daddies and loving, that kind of thing. So cute. There's a color activity where you go through the page of the story and you point out the different colors and patterns that you see. Understanding order, thinking about like how neat the little bear's room was, and then it tells you to like go into your child's room and see ways that you can make their room more orderly together. There's little games you can play with this, like little peekaboo and patty cake, teaching your kids how to do all these things. Again, tying it back into the story that you read together. Story disc that I just showed you for the volume 1, well, the Before 5 in a Row for the little ones also has story discs, but because they're so little, we're not going to expect them to place this on an actual map, right? So what they'll do is they'll take their story disc, whatever matches the story for that day, and then you can print this out, or I just purchased it from the website. Underneath the map, this is the little town, right? So there's like a church and a school and a grocery store. You're going to place the story disc wherever the story took place within that town. So I know that was a lot. If you have any questions, let me know. This is something that is very new to me. It is a Charlotte Mason method style that I've never used before, but I feel like this is just what I'm being called to do in my homeschool right now, and I cannot wait to let you know how it goes. I'll be documenting the whole thing along the way.